Paying off debt can be difficult. I know because I've paid off tens of thousands of dollars worth of debt. It was hard and it took some time. However, doing that has allowed me to live a much simpler and less stressful life where I still get to travel. I still get to go out to eat. I still get to live and do the things that I like, but I don't have to worry about the stress of debt hanging over me while I do those things. So living a debt-free life can be difficult and paying off debt can be hard. After paying off my own debt and talking about debt payoff on my channel, Pennies Not Perfection, and developing products and resources for people who are paying off debt themselves, I've come up with a debt freedom framework that I think is really helpful for most people when you're trying to get out of debt. So these are the steps that I've come up with that can help you get out of debt, the things you need to do to actually pay off your debt and live a debt-free, stress-free life that is well worth it. So let's talk about this debt freedom framework. The first step of the framework is to actually find your reasons why. Why do you want to be debt-free? Usually people don't get out of debt without having a reason why. It's not something that you can just kind of fall into. If you're not actively trying to pay off debt, you're probably just going to stay in debt. You're not going to be able to pay it off faster. You're just going to be paying it for as long as the terms of the loan or the credit card. In order to pay it down faster, you need to have a reason why. Maybe that is so that you can be less stressed. So you're not worried about the mounting debt that is costing you a lot in interest, the payments that you can barely afford every month. Maybe it is so that you are able to put your money towards something else. Maybe you want to buy a home, so you want to funnel your debt payment money toward a house payment instead. Maybe it's because you want to travel more, and because your credit cards are maxed out, you can't go anywhere right now. There's a number of reasons why people decide to get out of debt, and finding the one that is right for you, the thing that motivates you to do this, is very important. If you don't have that foundational reason why, if you don't have the motivation to get started because you want something out of this experience, you're really going to struggle when you're paying off debt and when things get hard. So if you're considering paying off debt, I would highly recommend that you sit down and you think about why you want to do this. List all of the reasons. Maybe there's one reason that's at the top of the list, but you have like 20 other reasons why this is a good idea. Maybe you have a long list of reasons why being debt-free, paying off all of this debt, would be a good move for your life. That list can help carry you through when times get tough. The second step of the debt freedom framework is to actually tally up your debts and know what you owe. Sometimes people can have debt in so many places and they're just working through the payments in their normal life that they don't actually know how much they owe in total. You are making those payments every month. You have things on credit. You have things on buy now, pay later. You are fine because you're making the payments every single month, but you don't actually know how much you owe. And the first step here is to actually check all of those balances and write them down. You can pull out a piece of paper, you can get a debt payoff sheet from my workbook, you can bring up a spreadsheet on Excel or Google Sheets. It doesn't matter how you do this, but basically you just need to find all of your debt. You need to have the name, the balance, who you owe, what you owe, the interest rate, every piece of information you can possibly have about your debt and tally it all up. You need to know how much you owe in total before you get started paying it off. If you don't actually know how much you owe, you can pull your credit report. You can do that annually for free. You can also sign up for a app that will tell you how much you owe. They will pull all of your information in. So I will leave links for those down in the description box if you need to figure out how much you actually owe and you aren't really sure. Don't feel bad about this. It happens. It is actually pretty common that people have debt they don't even know about. So if you have to do this step and it takes a little bit longer than you're expecting because you're not really sure and you're searching for all of the debts you owe, that's okay. The important thing is that you gather all of this information, you write it down on paper or have a spreadsheet, and you know exactly what you owe to who and the total amount of the debt that you owe. This is the first step to actually making a plan, which is the next step of the debt freedom framework. So like I said, the third step of the debt freedom framework is to actually create your debt payoff plans. There's a lot of different ways that you can pay off debt. There's different strategies and payoff plans, but the important part is that you take those numbers, that total amount of debt that you owe, the individual loans and credit cards and things that you owe, and you make a plan to pay it off. So you can pick any of the options. There's multiple different ways to pay off debt. You can go with a debt snowball approach, which is where you pay off the smallest balance first, and then you put all of that money toward the next smallest balance and pay them off one by small balance amount. Or you can do the debt debt avalanche plan, which is where you take the highest interest rate and you pay off that debt where you are paying the most interest. And so you knock out the one that is costing you the most. This usually is mathematically the best option if you want to pay less interest while you're paying off your debt. And then there's also options for debt consolidation. There's options for transferring to 0% credit cards if you have credit card debt. There's a lot of different ways that you can create a plan. It doesn't necessarily matter which plan you choose when you first get started. It just needs to be a plan that you can commit to and stick to for a certain length of time. You may decide later that you're not having enough progress, you're not going fast enough, so you want to switch plans, and that's okay. This first plan is to get you started, and you can always reevaluate later 3 to 6 months down the road and see if it's working for you. But to start, you really need to create that plan so you know where to put your extra money. You know which debt to put more money towards so you can make progress, because otherwise if you're just putting $5 or $10 here toward each of your debt or however much you have to put toward this debt payoff, you're not going to see the progress as fast, and you're not going to know that you're actually achieving your debt freedom goals. You want to have a plan so that you can see the progress and you know you are achieving something, which is going to motivate you to go harder with your plan and get this done faster. The next step of the debt freedom framework is to actually choose an external motivator. So this basically just means that you need something to track your progress, to see your progress, to actually motivate you once you are making progress, paying off debts, making those balances go away. You need something that you can visually see. Most people are very visual, so maybe it's an app, maybe it's a spreadsheet, maybe it's a huge tracker on your wall or your fridge. It needs to be something that you are coming into contact with often enough that you are reminded that you are paying off debt, and you're motivated by the progress you're making when you see that tracker or whatever motivational tool you're using. So maybe you are using something besides a tracker. Maybe you want to do a vision board of what your life is going to look like without debt. Maybe you are going to use the list that you made with the reasons why. Maybe you're going to read that every single day. It really doesn't necessarily matter which external motivator you're choosing. It just needs to be something that you're coming into contact with often enough to remind you that it's worth it to pay off debt, that what you're doing is a good idea, and that you're making progress. And maybe the external motivator is something like an accountability partner, someone that you're talking to who is also paying off debt or who has paid off debt before and can provide the accountability and experience of someone that lives a debt-free life. Maybe it's a group, maybe it's a Facebook group, maybe it's a group that you pay for where you're paying for accountability and community because you don't have that in your own life. It really depends on the type of person you are and your personality and what motivates you. So you'll probably want to spend some time here to think about what options would be the most motivational for you to keep you going even when you want to quit your debt payoff and you want to go do something else with your money, but you know that in the end, being debt-free is what you truly want. You'll have that motivator to put you back on track, to keep you going and push you forward in your debt payoff. I will leave some links for potential motivators for you in the description box. They're things that might motivate you, they might not. So take them with the grain of salt that it might be something for you or it might not be. You need to find what works for you, but they'll just be ideas that could get you started if you need a little push. And the final step of the debt-free framework is to actually pay off your debt by working your numbers. So you created a plan earlier on and now you need to work your numbers. And what I mean by that is you need to work the numbers of your income and your expenses so that you have more money to put towards your debt payoff. So basically you need to increase your income as much as you can. That might be working overtime, getting a second job, trying to find another job with more pay. It also means decreasing your expenses. So cutting things out for the period while you're paying off debt so that you have more money every single time you get paid to put towards your debt payoff. You've obviously already spent money or you've had student loan debt or something that has taken your money already. You need to find things that you can cut from your budget right now. Cut from your spending so that you have more money to pay towards your debt. And these might be things that you'll miss. This might be a time of feeling like you're not living your best life, that you're depriving yourself or you're sacrificing, but this is also very temporary. The more you can cut and the higher your income can be, the more you can work those numbers, the faster you'll be able to pay off your debt and the faster you'll be done with this whole process. You'll be able to live a life where you're not struggling with debt payments and having all of that hanging over your head. The faster you'll be done with this and you'll be done with debt which will be fantastic. So working your numbers can be really, really hard depending on your personal situation in life. You might not have the time to work another job. You might not be able to cut anything else from your expenses. So this can be one of the most difficult parts of paying off debt, but it's the part that allows you to achieve this goal faster. So you have to find some way to do this, and remember that it's not something you're doing forever. If you are making these big sacrifices, it's only for as long as it takes you to pay off the debt, and those sacrifices will allow you to make that period shorter because you'll pay off your debt faster. So these are the 5 steps that I've come up with that help you pay off your debt. If you're new to paying off debt, if you've never done before and you're kind of lost on how to make a plan, I have a couple videos on how to do that. And if you follow the 5 steps of this debt freedom framework, you can definitely pay off your debt, live a less stressful, easier life without debt. I know it's possible. I'm doing it, and it is 100% worth it. So I wish you the best on paying off your own debt, and make sure you check out this next video. It will help you along your debt freedom journey.